You all set over there, Liz? Okay, I'd like to call the November 18th, 2019 meeting of the Town of Niskayuna Planning Board and Zoning Commission to order. Mr. Keddy, would you please call the roll? Or Mr. Henry's going to do it? Okay, Mr. Henry, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Gold,
Present.
Mr. Laflamme,
Here.
Mr. Khan,
Here.
Mr. McPartland,
Here.
Mr. Darpino,
Here.
Mr. Oster,
Here.
Chairman Walsh.
Here, and I'd like to welcome Mr. Clark Kennedy, Assistant Town Planner, to his first planning board meeting. So thank you, Mr. Henry. Glad to have you on board. Okay, we have some minutes coming up. Approval of minutes. First ones are from the September 23rd, 2019 meeting. They were included in your packet. Do I have a motion to approve the September 23rd minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Chris Laflamme, Mr. Laflamme, and seconded by Mr. D'Arpino. And I know we're going to have to make a discussion on corrections now. After we move them and second them, then we'll talk about corrections. You probably got the same one I have, right?
Yep.
And is that the one, it said all members were present, but Mr. Khan's not listed, so I'm not sure if I don't think you were here for the 23rd meeting, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but I don't see, I know you were on, I think you're on business travel.
I was gone for 20. Yeah, I wasn't there for 20.
Okay, all right. All right, so we just have to,
Yeah, but he's voting in the votes,
you did?
and he's called out
Yep, you did votes. I don't,
as speaking multiple times.
do you have on your, you have your calendar on your phone? Maybe you can check that or something?
Oh no, wait, sorry, that's October 21st.
Yeah, no. I wasn't here in 20.
Okay,
Pretty certain of that.
they're close. to the same.
Yeah.
So he didn't vote.
Oh
on the
yeah,
20
okay, so he's yeah, okay, never mind.
He didn't vote on the 23rd, right? Yeah, we got two sets of minutes here. Okay. All right,
Okay,
so,
so we'll change that to Mr. Khan was absent and excused.
right, yep, under roll call, Mr. Khan was absent and excused because he did tell us he wasn't going to be here. And another minor typo on page 3, line 83. Just a simple, it's Mr. Morrison stated the center is currently, and it's open 24 hours. Just add an N there, okay? And that's all I had. Anybody else have any changes at all or corrections? All right, so we got two minor ones. Basically, Mr. Khan was absent and just a minor typo there. So I think it's close enough. We got a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor of approving the minutes as modified, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none opposed, the minutes from the September 23rd, 2019 meeting are approved. We'll move on to the minutes from the October 21st, 2019 meeting. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes? Motion made by Mr. Khan and second by Mr. McPartland. Any corrections or changes to those minutes? Looks like I just have one minor. Page 3, line 89. Just strike Chairman Walsh asked when, the first when. That's all, just a minor typo, just to clean it up. So very simple. That's all I had. Anybody else have anything? No? Kane, see no other changes. Can we, all those approval of the October 21st, 2019 meetings as modified signify by saying aye, please? Aye. Any opposed? October 21st meeting? Nope, none opposed. Okay, so the meeting minutes from October 21st, 2019 are approved, slightly modified. All right. All right, we'll move on the agenda. We have no public hearings tonight, so we'll move right to privilege of the floor. Anyone wishing to be heard regarding any planning and zoning matters in the town of Niskayuna, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and we'll listen to what you have to say. So,
Thank you. My name is Jean Sosnow. I reside at 37 Dublin Drive. I'm here tonight in my capacity as president of the Niskayuna Community Action Program. We're an all-volunteer organization that, in addition to Niska Day and other community programs, works to prevent youth substance misuse. The planning board is discussing the application of Niskayuna CBD oil store in the ShopRite Plaza, and that's what I wanted to address tonight. CBD has entered the mainstream so quickly, I'm concerned the research on the efficacy and long-term effects is not yet available. Without the maturity to make safe decisions, young people quickly pick up on new products, as we have seen with the vaping crisis. So I have concerns about keeping our kids protected from self-medicating and misuse in the face of marketing CBD as such a wonderful and diverse product and uses. And it's going to be located right here in the center of town near the high school. Will Niskiuna CBD ensure the enforcement of age requirements on the purchase of their product? What are the range of products to be sold? Will this include smokable products as indicated on their corporate website? Will this lead to any smoke shop or vaping paraphernalia? Will this open the door to medical marijuana dispensary? With every corner shop offering CBD, how does Niskiuna CBD verify the purity of its product? And although it's only in trace amounts, will Niskiuna CBD indicate the level of THC in each product? Is there a plan for educating the public about the safe and appropriate uses of CBD? So I hope you'll take this into consideration, and thank you for having me tonight.
Yeah, thank you. If anybody wants to, I see Ms. Porter, we'll talk when we call for resolution. What we do is we'll get a second and we'll move in second to resolution, then we'll have some discussion, okay? All right, anything else on privilege of the floor for anybody? Privilege of the floor? Okay, seeing no one else on privilege of the floor, we'll move on. There is no unfinished business tonight, so we're going to move right into new business. First item up is resolution 2019-31, a resolution for site plan approval of Chase Bank at 416 Balltown Road. That's within Mohawk Commons. Mr. Henry, please read. Oh, I'd also like to mention before he reads it, there was a slight modification to the resolution, although the board hasn't got copies. It's pretty much hot off the press. Condition number 1, and that the resolution that you have has been struck on advice of the town attorney. And I believe it's condition
Four.
the old number. Which one was it, Alexis? It was number,
It was one that mentioned Department of Public Works. It was just clarifying.
okay, right. So instead of Department of Public Works was clarified to be the town superintendent of water, sewer, and engineering. But we're the only two changes to the resolution, okay? So we'll read the resolution.
One of the purposes of the meeting is to take action on an application for a site plan review. The meeting was duly, whereas JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. has made an application to the planning board for a site plan review for the use of 416 Balltown Road as a Chase Bank with drive-through facility, as shown in a 17-page plan set entitled Chase Proposed Bank with Drive-Through Facilities by Stonefield Engineering and Design, dated August 9, 2019, and last updated on November 8, 2019. And whereas the zoning classification of the property is CS, Shopping Center Commercial, and whereas this application was referred to the Schenectady County Planning Department, and on October 9th, 2019, the county responded that they defer to local consideration. And whereas this application was referred to the Niskiuna Conservation Advisory Council, and on September 4, 2019, they recommended that the lead agency issue a negative seeker declaration. And whereas the planning board, acting in accordance with state environmental quality review regulations and local law, assumed the position of lead agency for this project. And whereas the zoning board granted variances to parking and lot lines on October 16, 2019 to allow a Chase Bank with drive-through facility to operate at 416 Balltown Road. And whereas the planning board granted waivers for temporary signage and directional signage on September 23rd, 2019. And whereas the planning board referred this application to the town's engineering department, and that department does not object to the proposed plans. And whereas this board has carefully reviewed the proposal and by this resolution does set forth its decision hereon. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that this planning board hereby determines that this project will not have a significant effect on the environmental and hereby directs the town planner to file a negative declaration. Resolved that this planning board and zoning commission does hereby grant final site plan approval to allow a Chase Bank with drive-through facility to operate at 416 Balltown Road, subject to the following conditions. 1, prior to site disturbance, the applicant shall participate in a pre-construction meeting with the town of Niskiuna and shall address any concerns raised by the town or the town designated engineer, TDE. 2, prior to site disturbance, the site plan maps shall be modified to reflect agreed-upon decisions of the pre-construction meeting, if any, and distributed as required to the town and to all involved contractors. Final site plans shall be submitted to the town labeled for construction. 3, prior to site disturbance, confirmation shall be made by the applicant to the town superintendent of water, sewer, and engineering that material specifications and site details, including road and utility plan profiles, meet town standards. 5, prior to the pre-construction meeting, any engineering and drainage concerns will be addressed to the satisfaction of the town superintendent of water, sewer, and engineering. 6, prior to the pre-construction meeting, any questions or concerns raised by the town designated engineer will be addressed by the applicant in a formal letter to the town.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Henry. Do I have Mr. McPartlin, I have a motion on the Chase Bank resolution?
Yes, I move for adoption.
Okay, move for adoption by Mr. McPartlin. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Oster. And we can have some discussion. I know we have the representatives of the applicant here, including Ms. Porter and the team. So if there's any questions or,
So I just have a procedural question.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the minutes from October 21st. So I know that we have stricken our classical condition number 1 about the resolution moving with the, with the deed of sale. So how are we handling that now?
I'm going to ask,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I actually forgotten that we weren't using that condition anymore, which is why the last minute amendment.
So, I mean, according to the minutes from last time, it's not, we didn't eliminate the condition, we just rephrased it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the appropriateness of whether or not, if the covenants aren't running with the land and are more, you have to have a meeting with someone from the town. If you were to sell that, that's not something that's appropriate to run in perpetuity with a deed property. So it doesn't touch or concern the property or the land itself.
Right, so I understand what you say. So that means that actually that condition is completely null and void and will be absent from now on.
Not necessarily. I mean, it's just what it's qualifying. So in this circumstance, none of the conditions, I think, arguably could be said to run with the land. If it had said something along the lines of the Harmon Grove, if you remember, I think one of the conditions was maintaining mature growth of trees. Like that's something I think arguably could be running with land, or anything that restricts your ability to
Right.
use.
like the wetlands
Exercise your property
delineation,
rights.
if it's called
Yeah.
out specifically, we want to make sure that gets passed on from homeowner to homeowner, so
Yeah.
they don't backfill or remove the fences that
Yeah.
might delineate that.
So on this particular one for Chase Bank, we've deemed that none of these conditions run with the land.
Yeah,
Well,
because
there's
it's just
more appropriate
pre-construction meetings
remedy.
and engineering. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
as opposed to making our general boilerplate condition what we had said last time with Harmon Grove.
Right. So we removed the boilerplate and said, Harmon Grove, you have to include these conditions in every deed of sale to the properties that are going forward. But like, would it matter if this property was being sold? They wouldn't be able to get to the point where the building was built without a pre-construction meeting, but would it matter that there was a resolution that was showing that, that we were
Okay.
requiring them to have a pre-construction
It
meeting?
just muddies the title. I mean, think about it. If you just have this, resolution.
No,
that
I understand that.
regulation.
We're,
Just trying to
you know,
understand.
Yeah.
as of this condition, I think it's the first time that we are going to not have any verbiage pertaining to, with Harmon Grove, we had modified it.
Right. Yep.
And we had modified it for those conditions deemed to run with the land.
Although we removed it out of tenant change quite a while ago
Yeah.
because we
So,
decided it didn't make sense for tenant change.
okay, so that's all I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to cease doing something we've normally done. I just want to make sure we're all good with that. And we have a basis for it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking. Any other questions or comments?
Just a clarification, to the extent that, engineering, and whether it be prior to site disturbance or in the pre-construction meeting, does impose conditions as referenced in the resolution. Those conditions could be ones that they were written and out appropriately, could run with the land. So it's not precluding, any future
Okay.
restrictions just at this center.
Understood.
Okay.
Thanks.
Does anybody have any questions for the applicant or comments regarding the resolution or proposed project there? Do you have anything, Mr. McFarland?
No, I think we've got a good plan. We've had several rounds of review. There's a few items to take away for the TDE's final review, but all in all, I think this this is going to be a great improvement to the existing plat. So.
Yep. I agree with that. Do you have any comments at all before we vote? Anything you want to add?
No, simply that we revised the plans mainly just to address technical items with the engineering department. Those plans were submitted along with a comment response letter back a few weeks ago. And so, essentially we're here tonight. We believe we've kind of,
Right.
crossed all Ts and dotted all Is. And, want to thank the board for its consideration of this matter.
No, great.
Assuming if this gets passed, when would the takedown of the Ruby Tuesdays and all the other logistical issues at Mohawk Commons take place?
Late spring, early summer.
Okay.
Other questions or comments at all?
Yeah, I think that they were really responsive to the Tree Council and the CAC asking that there be no invasive species. They did update that, so very much appreciated. We're really trying to dial that in.
Good job by the tree council also. So, no, I agree with the comments, so I'm ready to vote. Please call the roll.
Ms. Gold,
Aye.
Mr. LaPlante,
Aye.
Mr. Khan,
Aye.
Mr. McPartland,
Aye.
Mr. Darpino,
Aye.
Mr. Oster,
Aye.
Chairman Walsh.
Aye. The resolution for site plan approval of Chase Bank is passed. So congratulations and welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's see. Next up is Resolution 2019-32, a resolution for site plan approval of a Niskayuna CBD oil store at 2321 Knott Street East. Mr. Henry, would you please read the resolution?
One of the purposes of the meeting is to take action on an application for site plan review. Whereas John Covertino, representing Niskayuna CBD LLC, has made an application to the planning board for a new tenant site plan review for the property located at 2321 of the ShopRite Plaza, number 1, as shown on the site plan entitled Exhibit A 1.2. And whereas the zoning classification of the property is CN, Neighborhood Commercial Zoning District within the Town Center Overlay District, and whereas the applicant is proposing a CBD oil, gel, and balm company, professional office, non-medical, and additional signage, and whereas Section 220-13, Schedule I-D states that for facade signs, 1 square foot of sign area shall be permitted for each linear foot of building frontage, and under no circumstances shall any facade sign exceed 50 square feet. And whereas the building as proposed has 20 linear feet of building frontage and would only allow 20 square feet of signage. Therefore, a waiver for 6 square feet of total signage from the planning board is required. And whereas section 220-48.4 E9 states that a maximum of 1 facade sign per use is permitted, except that a use fronting on both sides, on 2 streets, may have 1 sign for each building front. And whereas the building, as proposed, has 3 facade signs, therefore, a waiver granting 2 additional facade signs is required. And whereas section 220-48.6C of the code allows the planning board and zoning commission to waive 1 or more of the requirements of the town center overlay district. neighborhood commercial and highway commercial standards. And whereas Section 220-32.7 of the town code was enacted by the town board in the interest of reducing the number of individuals of all ages who use cigarettes, e-cigarettes, and other vaping products, and requires retailers of such products to be over 1,000 feet away from the property lines of any Niskayuna Central School District school, nursery school, school of private instruction, or child daycare center. And whereas the planning board referred this application to the town superintendent of water, sewer, and engineering, the fire district chief, and the chief of police, and there were no objections to the proposal. And whereas this board has carefully reviewed the proposal and by this resolution does set forth its declaration hereon. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission has determined that the proposed waiver for 6 square feet of total signage and the proposed waiver for 2 additional signs would have a minimum negative effect on aesthetics and is compatible with existing neighborhood character. And be it further resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission does hereby grant said waivers to allow the signage as described on the facade drawing entitled Your CBD Store Niskayuna by Olson Signs and Graphics submitted to the Planning Board on October 2nd, 2018. And be it further resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission finds the Niskayuna CBD LLC site plan meets the requirements of the zoning code, previous site plan approvals, and therefore hereby approves this site plan and tenant change with the following conditions. 1, the sale of any vaping products or equipment is prohibited at this location pursuant to the purpose and intent of Section 220-32.7 of the town code.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Do I have a motion for approval of the resolution?
I'll advance it to start the conversation.
All right. And I'll second that.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second, and we can have some discussion.
Can-
I just want to make sure, are you the applicant? Are you Mr. Convertino? Why don't you come up to the microphone?
Can I ask a question about the condition?
Mm.
Is there any, if this section of code already exists, why is it necessary to restate it in the resolution? Because the reason why I ask is because it also prohibits the sale of cigarettes as well too, but we only talk about vaping in the condition.
So
It's not
you want to define
necessary.
vaping?
Yeah.
Maybe start with that.
What?
What is the definition of vaping products or equipment?
Well, we don't have a definition, and we're actually referencing it back to the purpose and intent. So I felt like it's close enough to the purpose and intent of the tobacco code to include vaping, but
Is
If-
vaping like e-cigarettes or is it like, I mean, it's tobacco, so it's technically, the only thing I would caution is that there's like a federal ban on it's flavored e-cigarettes are the ones that apparently are some tied to minors. And, there's like a lot of appellate work going on, especially in New York related to the sale. I mean, it becomes arbitrary. I think right now, the last I checked, it was you could sell mint, or you can't sell mint.
Can't send that.
You can't sell mint.
We're not going to have any type of vaping product.
Oh, so
Don't
it's a
want to
moot
be associated with it or head shops or anything like that.
As I understand it, the health department put forward a emergency regulation that prohibited the sale of e-cigarette flavorings. However, there's a stay on that. There's a stay on that rule right now.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be in there. The advantage to putting it in there is that when somebody's looking at the approval at this, they don't have to look at this approval and look at the code. They can just sort of see everything written into one resolution, but it is a little redundant. It
Right.
doesn't matter if it's written in there, it's still in the code.
My only question is about actually saying some of the things in it, but not saying everything that's in it. Because is there going to be some kind of interpretation that, well, you didn't say cigarettes, so therefore that's okay.
No, the code still applies. This is just to further
Okay.
clarify vaping. I mean, the applicant has represented that he's not doing any vaping at this time, but I did notice that if you go online, and I was just double checking again, that CBD oil, some places do have CBD vaping products. And so while this tenant may be saying, I'm not going to be choosing that line of vaping products in my CBD oil store, like I would just prefer for it to be on the record that, they can't. This isn't a tobacco store, it's a CBD store. So that's why I didn't bring in the tobacco stuff.
But
It always will apply. It doesn't matter if it's written in here or not. This is just
Okay.
redundancy.
Maybe we could just clarify if that's the purpose. Why don't we just quote directly from this reference statute so that there's no,
Where e-cigarettes.
because it does says,
vaping
instead of,
products.
though, I mean, at least in the most
Because,
current-
the reference statute, I think, is actually, because it's a fine line that we're treading here, the reference statute is sort of specifically referencing tobacco. I'm saying that the purpose and intent of that statute includes vaping, and so I'm adding that condition in here so that there's clarification on it.
right, but the where I don't have this the code provision in front of me. It just says, I'm just looking at the whereases, which says
Yeah.
it
I
Says,
can read it to you.
okay, yes.
I think it would be helpful. I think one thing that's potentially of issue is
I would
that
not actually recommend.
it says the town board of the town of Niskuna has a substantial and important interest in reducing the number of individuals of all ages who use cigarettes and other tobacco products, with a particular interest in reducing the illegal sale of tobacco products to minors. The town board finds that restricting the location of tobacco retailers in the town is necessary to protect the public health, safety, welfare of the community. So I would caution against, unless the town board is recommending that we include this condition because they want to clarify that this statement of purpose includes also vaping.
Well, can we actually say in addition to the provisions of section 220 of 30 of the town code so if your point is that it doesn't say vaping,
No, it's
Can we-
the town board. I think it's just that we'd be
Town
kind of
code.
we'd be making a statement that the town board's purpose in enacting this without any clear direction that the town board authorized us to do that.
right? But I guess what I'm saying is if you want to incorporate this, I mean, if your concern is that it doesn't say vaping under the existing town code, could you just incorporate it, say, in addition to that, they can't sell vaping products?
I think that would have to be a town board decision.
So to be safe, we're calling it out as a condition.
Right, so the recommendation, I think, Alexis, Kim, you're saying that we should actually, condition number 1 should not mention section 220.32.7 at all. Because we're judging the intent of the town board and that on a piece of the code that says nothing about vaping.
Okay.
Correct.
So I think we can say the sale of any vaping products or equipment is prohibited at this
Location.
location.
As a.
That's
I
okay.
don't know if we can say that.
So then that gets us into another legal question.
I would I don't know if it's the proper province of the planning
Well-
board to have like more police power, because I mean, who would enforce
Right.
this?
Well, so if we put it in the code and we put it in the zoning approval and then theoretically a building inspector saw the sale of vaping products in there, they would be out of compliance with their zoning board approval. So it's actually fairly easy to enforce the conditions that we list in our approvals. I'm just not sure that we've ever gone down into the level of retail and said
So-
what you can and cannot sell.
Right, so that's the key question I'm asking, right? And do we have a precedence for doing this with retail?
No,
like-
no.
Do we know if ShopRite sells CBD stuff?
Yeah, we have no idea.
Right.
That's really why he's represented that he's not vaping, but there are vaping products out there for CBD oil. So, I was just trying to tie the fact that
And there are people who
he's
live in.
representing he's not going to be vaping. And we have a code that says that vaping's bad within schools. So why don't we just tie the two together for the record and memorialize that fact? That's what the intent of the condition is.
That makes sense.
And there are literally parents who drive around Niskuna selling CBD.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
The CBD itself, no, not passing judgment on it. It's
Yeah.
that we're trying to make sure that there is a product out there that is in sort of violation of this thing that we are trying to keep away from schools. So we're just trying to tie the two of them together.
Let me do this. I'd like to talk to the applicant for a minute, and we can think about that. Mr. Convertino, can you tell us about the business you heard from the public during the privilege of the floor?
Mhm.
Questions were, so you're not going to sell any vaping products or
No.
equipment? It's strictly oils, I guess?
Definitely not,
You know,
yeah.
the kind of like an eyedropper or whatever you
They
administer
have
them?
bath bombs, they have other things, but the main thing is the water soluble, and the creams. That's mainly what it is.
Okay, and as far as age requirements, is it 21 years old in order to purchase any of those things?
Yes,
So you'll soon be checking IDs
yes.
to sell those cements, okay?
Yeah, it's not something you
And
want to
there
give to
no
anybody, but
smokable
still.
products at all that you're selling? The oils aren't smokable? You can't put those into a
No.
vaping thing? All right. And no paraphernalia, other pipes or?
No, we don't
things
really
along those-
want to be associated in that way at all.
Okay. And the only other question was about the percentage of THC in the products. Is that on all the labeling of the products?
It is, and you have full spectrum and broad spectrum products. Half the stuff has like 3% THC in it, the other half doesn't.
All right, so is it the state law? Is it less than 3%? Is that what it
Yes.
is?
Federal law.
Federal law?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure on the record. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for helping with that. Okay, so as far as condition number one, do we land anywhere? I mean, I understand where Laura's coming from. The applicant states he doesn't want to be in that business, and who knows where the future holds. And we also listen to the public, and we have concerns about smoking, obviously. And
She actually had some really good questions that I'd like to answer if she'd
Yeah.
like me to.
yeah, I think we kind of caught those. I think
Yeah.
we're right. I think
Well,
so.
if you have more, go ahead. Did you have other?
I don't
things you-
remember all her questions,
Oh,
but when
okay.
she was reading.
No, I
they
kind
were
of
good questions.
I kind of went down the list. I think we got them all. So
Okay.
yep. Yep.
This is entree into medical marijuana.
No, it does not. Well,
Can
Oh,
you
sorry,
address,
so the-
yeah,
No, that's a new question. I didn't hear that one before.
No, she said
Well,
that.
that's-
Did you?
Is it leading
Okay.
to medical
Was it
marijuana?
medical
business?
marijuana? I'm sorry.
I mean, that's not really for me to answer. That's kind of,
All right.
is it
All
going to
right,
go
that's
that
not the
direction? We'll
application in
see.
front of us. It's not the products now that you're selling.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Mr. Convertino, question. Did you look at any other locations besides this one for the store?
Actually, I already built one in Loudonville for.
No, in Niskuna. Another
No,
location is Niskuna.
no, that was the spot. I saw that, and that's where we were going to go in 2 spots over. A national came in there and took that spot, so we moved over 3 spots.
National?
A bigger company. I don't know what it was. That's what I was told, that I lost the spot. to somebody
Oh,
better.
you mean in ShopRite Plaza?
Yeah,
Probably Mathnasium.
so I shifted over and still. And as for the signage, it was 26 feet because I was going to do the logo. Not doing the logo up there anymore, so I'm down to 22 feet, I think it is. So I'm only 2 square feet over the allotment. I got a kind of weird storefront right there.
Yeah, I took a look over there today. It is unique because of the way it sets back and it
Yeah, so I
cuts
think
in.
I'm just going to do the
So I-
USCBD on the 2 sides and not do the logo. I'll just do the logo in the window.
and to clarify, you can't sell it for ingestion. Correct? Or you can, I think, I'm,
What do you mean? You have to ingest it?
okay, because I thought, because I thought there was a ag and markets rule that came out earlier this year that limited how you could sell things for ingestion, or maybe it's when it's mixed with other products.
Maybe if it's mixed with, I know some people
Okay.
are trying to infuse it into all different types of liquids and things like that for drinks, but nothing that we're getting into at this time.
So I do want to say, I've got 0 issues and concerns with the business. I've got a lot of issues and concerns with the location. To be within 1,000 feet of the high school, which has very mobile, very, easy access, high school age students, young adults, right?
Which everybody
They're young
be
adults.
checked for age. We don't want
I'm-
to sell to anybody that.
I understand, but
anyways.
the key thing is that the planning board, Laura, I think, in full understanding of how code enforcement works, right? This is a little bit more of a policing action than a code enforcement action, right? And so I've just got that concern. And I mean, there are other properties in Niskuna that are available for a business like this.
Mhm.
And my question really is that isn't there a more suitable location for this business?
I thought it was actually a really suitable, other than the school being there.
Well, but that's the big one,
Yeah,
right? That's going to be there. We're not going to move the school, so that's going to be the
no,
big one.
absolutely. It was a good location with ShopRite being there, with its a little bit more traffic, with the right demographic in that area, other than the school being there, which we are restricting the age of purchase, and will do diligently. I don't see it being an issue. There's no vape in there, and anybody coming into there to buy something, it's $50 to $100 per thing you get.
Niskuna is a wealthy community.
Okay.
Kids have a lot of access to disposable income. That's my concern. It's a question of legally where we are parked. But
And I don't mean to interrupt, but I mean, I always go back to the code to look for the authority to impose conditions when granting waivers or in site plan. And it says planning board may require such additional provisions and conditions that appear to promote further understanding of the applicant's proposal. So that's not the case here. And are necessary for the purpose of ultimately protecting the health, safety, and general welfare of the town's residents. I don't think that you would have to make, to me, this it seems somewhat arbitrary and capricious. I mean, I understand where it's coming from, but to pick one activity, form of vaping that we're making a judgment call that's it's necessary for protecting the town's health and safety to just ban vaping products, but not ban, and I don't know what other.
so, Ms. Kim, I guess I have a legal question I'd like to get an answer to before we vote on this. What are the regulations that govern CBD stores? Is it the FDA? Is it some other administration? Is it state law? Is it federal law? I think I'd like to see a copy of that before I vote.
Yeah, I mean, I just think my recommendation would be that I understand that it's not. I understand where the condition is emanating from, but it's more appropriate to be in perhaps policy statement. This is the planning board's policy statement is that it finds that vaping products or equipment are
Yes, actually, I'm not even referencing the condition. I just like to know who's got purview over CBD oil stores. I know who's got purview over pharmacies. I know who's got purview over supermarkets. So which is the agency that has purview over a CBD oil store? Do you know the
I believe it
answer?
would be FDA and the federal. But do I know for certain? No.
So I'm fairly certain that
FDA is definitely
CBD oil is not actually FDA approved.
Okay.
So that one so
Yeah, so
can I make a request and we can get that?
So you're asking whether or not that we're allowing it illegal.
No.
You're asking to table the resolution.
No. I'm
Oh,
not even asking
okay.
that. I'm just saying that I'd like to know which federal or state agency dictates the particulars of CBD oil sales. That's all.
Well, I thought the federal farm bill, I don't know which agency oversees it, has said it is okay to sell CBD oil as long as it basically only contains a minute amount of THC.
So Mo,
Yeah.
I appreciate your expertise and your experience. All I'm saying, I would just like to see it.
Yeah. No,
I'd just like to
that's,
see it on the record.
yeah, no, and that's why I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to consider tabling it. So we just basically to clarify what the scope of what the planning board can do and what we can't do.
I would say that I'd be happy to provide more clarification, but in so much as CBD, I mean, I've seen the signs that it's allowable throughout Niskuna, presuming based on the number of locations we have. I understand that I would say that the only basis for tabling it here would be if it's because of the proximity to the school. That's what's causing you, particular concern of why you want clarification. But, I don't think that the planning, in so much as it's allowed under New York state law, I know federally, I'm not sure about that, what agency directly oversees CBD.
I mean,
But I know that I don't think town of Niskuna, we would have jurisdiction that would preempt, a state's issuance of whatever licensing or application you received in order to sell CBD products. I don't think that we would be able to, invalidate that essentially by prohibiting a tenant from being in Mohawk Commons.
Ms. Kim, do we know if there is a requirement that CBD isn't allowed to be sold within a certain footage from a school, or in this case, Mathnasium, a tutoring facility right next door?
No, that would be in our zoning code and
That would
that's
be
not
our
in
zoning,
it. Yeah, we don't have that.
But Laura, we do have the town code 220-327, right?
Yeah, which is actually mostly related to tobacco products, but it does reference.
But the
e-cigarettes.
intent of us restricting the distance of retail of cigarettes is probably to direct proportion to concern with CBD and other things as well, right? So you have to be a certain age to buy cigarettes, but we don't want it so close to the school,
So-
regardless of the fact that you need to be of a certain age.
So NCAP is actually partially responsible for that code being changed, and it wasn't changed very long ago. It was since I was a planner here. And NCAP came to the town board and had scientific studies that showed that products that were eye level were more often selected by teenagers, and that proximity to schools directly correlated with more use of cigarettes and vaping products. And so the town board said, yeah, we can rely on these scientific studies. We hear what you're saying. And then during our next round of zoning code amendments, we took that proposed code that the town board had listened to from NCAP and incorporated it into our town code. But at the time, there was no discussion of CBD or THC.
But I think things like CBD tend to speak in the spirit of the intent of that code. To Genghis's point, that I think that's the concern, is the proximity to the school, and that it is a substance that may be similar to cigarettes and vaping and things that we've mentioned.
I did just look up real quick that it is being regulated by the FDA.
Yeah, I mean, I was just
Another-
Googling it too. It says that the 2018 Farm Bill
That's what kind of pushed it into the FDA's.
pushed it
hands,
into the FDA.
Is there a law? I mean, and that's the other part of this that I'm not 100% certain of, is there a law that limits the age for purchasing CBD, and what is it? Because I thought I was Googling here saying something that's 18, not 21. But again, that's
I
just
believe
my
it
own.
is 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that a New York law or is that a FDA limitation?
I'd have to look. I would assume the FDA, since they're the ones regulating, it's not really so much on the states, I guess you could say. I'm not a lawyer, so
My concern is less the FDA and how the federal government's regulated. My concern is our interpretation of a set code that is in the same spirit with the things that are restricted based on the distance to school. That's my concern.
Well, I mean, that's the main point to start from, but I am, other than from Google, I would just like to know.
Well, this is the first time we've not discussed this at a previous meeting before. And we have this coming up to us for a vote to decide this right now.
Yeah, this is,
That's why I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to table it for the next meeting.
what's your current status as far as lease or,
lease is already signed. We're just waiting to go through the planning board process, get our building permit, and move forward.
Do you need license from any other entity or permit or anything?
You need a resale certificate, but that's not really pertaining to this specific product. It's just a matter of tax wise. Other than that, no, there's no specific license to it.
You don't have to get any state approval for anything.
No, mainly town.
Well, that's good to know, but we have nothing that I could find in our regulations that deal with CBD's product.
I think we have.
Plain simple.
It's caught up. It hasn't caught up yet, but
Well, but that leaves us in a very awkward position because we have nothing on which to rely.
Let me ask a question. If you were ever able to, would you sell medical marijuana?
Nah, probably not.
But that's a whole other process. Then you'd have to get approval from the state of New York.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
Yeah.
animal with, you gotta have deeper pockets in that ring.
Okay, but it's possible that could happen for a proprietor of that store, whether it's you or someone else,
I get it.
right?
For that store location, I mean, it would still have to come before you guys.
Does our town code mention anything about marijuana?
No, it's illegal right now in New York.
Well,
I would,
medical is legal.
Yeah.
Medical
that's true.
marijuana is highly regulated, and there's a limited number of distributors and retailers who can actually sell it. So the process for someone to get it is a
Yeah.
very highly selective process from the state of New York.
It does require a state permit. I
Yeah. Yeah, for medical marijuana. My only thing is I don't necessarily object to it. I do think, however, some good questions have been raised here tonight just for our own clarification, because I do think it is the first time we're actually formally approving this type of establishment. And I think only because it's the first time we've literally even seen it tonight, as opposed to having it come up in a previous meeting. That's why I think it may not be a bad idea to at least kind of clarify all this stuff for the next meeting.
Our next meeting is on December 9th. That hurt you too bad if we table the resolution.
Yeah, that's gonna push me back, yeah. We're trying to get open for the first of the year, and that's gonna take a bit of time.
Yeah, let's see, but at least we do have a meeting December 9th, early in the month. It's not that far off, you know? It gives an opportunity to at least get some additional information and, but, you know, my personal position is, you know, I obviously don't want to do anything that would impact the students or the youth of Niskayuna. I do know that there's 2 CBD stores, you know, right over on Upper Union Street also. I know the school isn't there, but, you know, it's very common. I just spoke to somebody the other day that a person that had some medical issues and was recommended that they purchase it to give it a try for pain, and they're utilizing it, and they felt that it helped them, you know, so there's also some positives.
There's a lot of
You know.
positives.
Look, my key issue is just the location with the school. I can tell you we wouldn't be having this discussion from what's known about CBD if the factor of the school wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key thing. And I see where it's going, but in all honesty, I personally feel like I need a lot more clarification from what's regulated, what's not, who regulates it, you know, what's there, that stuff just not from a Google search.
Well, yeah, I mean, the
If
clarification.
you guys want to stay here till 11 at night.
No, yeah, I don't want to
we
drag
can
it
do
on. I would say maybe if the question you're seeking is whether or not the planning board has authority to make a determination that CBD is not allowed within, 1,000 feet of a school, I'd say the answer under our current code is no. I mean, we're not vested, but that would be essentially be just specific zoning prohibitions. We'd be changing the zoning code. So we don't have that jurisdiction. Whether or not I think we can put this particular condition in here, I'd say no. I think that we would need to just say, I mean, it would be redundant. You could say, rather than condition, you need to qualify the vaping products with illegal. And I know that the building inspectors could feasibly go out and enforce that, but it's not reasonably related to the request for a waiver, which related to the signage. I mean, I understand it's in the context of site plan, so it comes up, but.
I mean, you could say, with the following conditions, that this store is selling.
You don't want to get into the realm of arbitrary and capricious, because to me, the thing that would stand out for kids is like maybe calling it like your CBD store. It sounds like your neighborhood store. There's a lot of things that you could pick out and say this is what is
Well, you could,
harmful to the
instead
minor.
of saying what you can't do, you could say what they can do, right?
That's what I'm saying. You
Yeah.
could say, just as a
Limited to
summary,
sale of
just
CBD oils or whatever,
CBD oils, tinctures, capsules, balms, and skin products, and any changes to this type of retail would require bringing it back before the planning board.
Which is basically everything but the vape, which we don't plan on selling.
Yeah, and then if something was changing there, it would just be a
I like that,
new
yeah.
overview
I like that.
of
Do you want to make those changes now?
I mean, I'm okay with making it now.
I am also.
And would it be repetitive, or should we also put an age restriction of whatever the age, if it's 21, putting that into the resolution?
I don't know those.
I think it's police power. I mean, it's would get into, we'd have to now be
Yeah.
pleasing, but
I think it's getting into
We
a
don't have the
state,
authority to do
a
that.
state type of, kind of subverting a state or federal regulation, or in that case, or law in that case.
Let's allow them to sell to 18-year-olds. We have no business
Right, we can't
trying
say
to
that.
make it higher age.
However, we do have a code that is meant to protect the ages associated with schools,
Well, here's the thing.
the influence to kids.
We are with a particular emphasis on minors. For most things, 18-year-olds are not considered minors. Only for alcohol and tobacco products are they considered underage now. And there's a big question in my mind about the wisdom of that, because they can sign contracts like an adult, they can enlist, all kinds of things.
Yeah, but our code says all ages. It's not about age, it's about the influence.
Well, but that
Right.
particular reference refers to minors.
Laura, you coming up with a new condition that basically states what the applicant has requested and what we're going to vote on?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's the path, personally, that's for me, I think that's the right path forward. I don't want to get into the regulating the business and who regulates the business. It's allowable, it's regulated by somebody else. I agree with the concern being there to school. The applicant says not selling vaping products, not selling drug paraphernalia, right? It's oils, creams, and I'm okay with that, all right?
I have a couple questions.
Hmm.
So, just one question about the site plan. So I see here that you've got basically half of the site is intended to remain unfinished.
Yeah, we don't need that much space, so I don't intend to finish it.
So a couple questions about that then. I understand that it was previously a tanning salon.
Hmm.
Do you know the current state of the
Yes,
site?
I've been
Has
in
that
there.
Been vacated?
Yes, it's vacated.
Okay, so no intentions to install anything in that unfinished space right now?
No.
And then on your application, you also mentioned that you sell a particular brand of CBD products. Is that your brand?
No, it's SunMed. It's kind of a franchise, just kind of getting behind a bigger name that's more regulated with their hemp products. I've seen quite a few stores that sell all different arrays of products, not really standing behind one or I think knowing one very well.
Okay, so you have a relationship with this one.
Yes, I won't be selling any other products but SunMed.
And in that vein, you're just, this would just be a retail outlet. There's no actual manufacturing of CBD
No,
products here?
no.
Okay. And then when it comes to age requirements, you are probably familiar with the sale of alcohol and tobacco. There's some signage that we've become accustomed to seeing on the exterior of locations and the interior of locations that says very clearly, we ID, and this is the age you must be to
Mhm.
purchase our products. Do you plan to have such signage at your location?
I can. I wasn't planning on it. I was just planning on enforcing it. But if that makes you feel better about it, I definitely could.
Well, if it's tastefully done, I think
Yeah.
it doesn't deter certain people who are of age, but it might, give a high schooler, a bold high schooler pause to see that, just that little sticker that says we
Yeah,
ID.
that's a good suggestion. Yeah.
Definitely.
Might save you some troubles
Some
also.
headaches.
Yeah, or some troubles too,
Yeah.
It's just a good reminder for people who work there every day. Like you can get 4 hours of webinar training, but if you walk by that sign every day and it says we ID, hopefully.
It sticks in your head.
So you're gonna add that to the condition?
Yeah, don't you think we should? I mean, I would think we should.
Yeah, I mean, if we have the authority, I don't see why not.
I
You're,
think it's a good
sounds
idea
like it's not a
to
big
begin with.
deal. We should. Yep. Okay, so we're working up some changes here is what we're doing. So we can try to get through tonight, once we vote on the changes and then vote on the amended resolution, okay?
You mentioned about not having the logo on the signage.
Yeah, I was just thinking about doing it in the window because I don't think it really benefits in any way. I think having the two signs on just the two sides is plenty good. And I know when I went to the building department, they were a little iffy about being that much more over the allotted square footage. That's
Yeah,
what I
the
made the
question I would have
suggestion.
there though is if you put it in the window, it's still a sign, so
Not if it's on the inside.
Hmm?
If it's on the inside.
it's on the inside.
Those
Yeah.
are more all your window stickers, your decals and things
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
Kind of unfortunate because it would fill a blank.
It
space
would, and
on
I
the
may,
side.
I mean, if you guys approve it, great, but if it's something that's gonna hold us up, then I don't need to. And I
give-
may do it.
I'll give my opinion. So I was over there today, I walked around, checking things out. This is like, again, a unique location. And, it gives it him opportunities, for signage that the other places don't have. So I really didn't see a problem with it because, if it was laid out, if you take a look at the attachment, a wall sign illumination here, if it had your CBD store over on both sides, then that would be redundant. But since it's, around the corner, I didn't have a problem with it. And we're going to be talking about mathnasium here in a little while too, regarding signage. So that's my view. So, I mean, I think it'd be easier personally, I'd say leave it in. If you don't put it up, you don't put it up. it's hard to tell what it is. It looks like is it a trademark or a
So,
symbol?
yeah, it's their trademark design. There's nothing specific.
And then is there any, it's not clear what it is. Can you describe it from the picture that we got? Is it got leaves in it?
Like a flower, I guess. It kind of looks like a
Oh,
flower.
it's just, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good idea, but I don't know. What this thing-
Yeah, 'cause this is what we got, so it's kind of hard.
Oh, yeah, it's not too clear.
It's just a photocopy, so it's hard to tell.
So Laura, are you drafting a take?
Yeah,
statement?
Yeah.
So I have the retail use of the store is limited to CBD oil, water soluble oil, tinctures, gels, capsules, oil infused balms, and skin products.
We do also, sorry, we have pet products.
Oh, and pet products.
I give it to my 13-year-old Shih Tzu. He runs around like a puppy again.
Is the amount of THC in pet products any different from the regular one?
I think we have the same thing, the full spectrum or broad spectrum, whereas one has 0 and one has 3%.
So it's still limited by the 3%.
Yes, yes.
Any change to the outline retail use will require additional site plan approval by the planning board. And then 2, prior to CO, applicant will submit a signed package to the planning department indicating legal age and ID requirements for purchase of product. Oh, wait, sorry. Prior to CO, applicant will submit a signed package indicating legal age and ID requirements for purchase of product to the planning department for approval.
And Google says that age is what?
Well, that's what I don't know the answer to. I don't know if New York actually has a law that says you have to be a certain age. I know there's certain parts of the country that do, but I guess that's my question is whether I think that would be a fabulous condition to say. you have to be a
Regardless of
certain
the
age to
law,
do
I
it.
would say go
Yeah.
ahead and put in 18 because we
Yeah.
don't want to sell to kids that are still having their minds developed.
But I don't know if, the question I just have for the attorneys is whether town of Niskuna can actually do that.
Yeah, I don't want to say
We can
18.
require
If it's
signage.
I don't want to say 18
We
if
can
it's
require
21 though, by
signage, but
law.
I don't think we can change the age,
Yeah.
legal age. And so I'd just say that, when he
So we're not
submits
calling
the
out
package
age,
of
we're saying
signs-
indicating legal age.
But I
and ID
don't, but I
requirements.
don't know if there actually is a legal age in New York.
And so that, I think that's something for, the applicant would know. You're saying that you wouldn't sell to someone who's
I
legally.
wouldn't sell to anyone under 18 anyway, so if you want to put provision in there for that, regardless of
hang
the
on.
law.
But
Yeah, we
is
don't want
it-
to put
but is
18
it-
if it's
yeah,
21.
18 if it's
Right, if it's
That's
21, we don't want
question.
to put 18. So
I
let's
think we
leave the
can
age off.
reference this as the-
You need to know what the age is. You
Just
need to
get
check
age
for ID,
appropriate, yeah.
and the sign needs to reflect that.
So we're still comfortable voting on this today?
And I think, one thing to note is this is you don't have to feel like the weight of this is on the planning board. This could be joint effort. You like the school, watch out for off grounds, police department, code enforcement. I think that
I think that's why I go
Good
back to saying before about the wanting to just postpone it to another. I understand that we're sort of in the neighborhood and we're circling the airport here. It's just, I feel like there's questions we're all asking that we don't necessarily have clear answers for. That,
I think the answer is that we can't prohibit CBD from being there.
Yeah.
And so we can take steps to ensure that they're not, selling to students because of the proximity to school, but we cannot make a decision on what's illegal or legal. And so if we can vote on it, and if you don't feel comfortable for reasons that.
Right. So Mo, I've articulated, I think, very clearly what my big concern is, and it's huge to me. But I understand Ms. Skim's point very well. We actually, the way our code stands today, we actually cannot say no to this business.
oh, and I'm not even, again, this is not a saying no. This is just articulating conditions.
But the conditions are,
And what we can say in those conditions versus what we cannot say in those conditions, and whether we need to know more about what the law says we can and can't do. There seems to be a little bit of a gray area. That's my only, again, I am okay going for, there's a lot of questions that people have about what we can and can't do. And because it's the first time we've seen this tonight, and it's only 2 weeks to the next meeting, or 3 weeks, I guess, to the next meeting. That's why I thought maybe make sure our ducks are in a row to actually just get it all together for the next meeting. However, if you choose to want to go forward tonight, that I will not strongly object to that.
One thing I'm thinking is getting back to kind of the council's initial comments about the condition and its necessity. given that we already have some language in the town code addressing tobacco sales and proximity to schools. I mean, what if alternatively, we made a zoning code amendment down the road or in the near future that specifically called out e-cigarettes?
Vaping.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can easily do so. I mean, yeah, I think that's already in our minds that we would want to look at, because I mean, even 2 years ago, I don't think we were having a conversation about the possibility of marijuana being legalized for recreational use in New York. But now, I mean, I don't really follow politics, but theoretically, maybe it could happen.
Yeah, so I'm glad Mr. McPartlin brought that up. I was going to bring it up at the appropriate point in this meeting, that I think at whatever way a planning board can make a formal recommendation to the town board, that they relook at the code to be more comprehensive about what's prohibited and 1,000 feet away from a
in
school.
that buffer from schools, because that is a zoning. You're not completely outlawing it in New York. You're just making provisions that protect certain areas, and you still allow the business to be in Niskuna. So that is an allowable thing to do in your zoning code.
Yep.
But we have the application before us now.
Right.
Right, but
Yeah.
but if he, and so I mean, the whole point of me putting that one condition in was that I don't want to see it progress to something that, we our code isn't ready for. If we're putting in, just to be clear for the future, that any changes to the retail use require planning board approval, and then we put in, we update the code so that it's more fair and equal to everyone. He's put on notice that we don't want to see this evolving into, a smoking marijuana store, if that ever is allowed someday in the future. And, we would then go forward and amend our code so that it applies equally to everyone. Right?
I agree. Okay. All right, so we have a couple of modifications to the conditions, striking the current condition, number 1, and replacing those with the 2 conditions. We could have Laura read those again if you'd like. Is everybody clear? Basically, it's what is allowed, and it's based on what the applicant has submitted about what he was going to sell, right? Just validating, and incorporating that into the resolution. And then the second one about the signage, that he would post for the correct legal age that he's allowed to sell to make sure, because we don't regulate that. So I'm going to move that we modify the resolution to those 2 conditions. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, second by Mr. McPartlin. All those in favor of modifying the resolution signify by saying aye.
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 Nay.
Any opposed? You have 1 opposed. Okay. You opposed? Okay, I didn't hear you. Okay. 2 opposed? Anybody else? Okay, the resolution's for modification is passed by a vote 5-2. And now we have an amended resolution. And we can have further discussion if we need it on the amended resolution.
I
Well,
received drawings from the sign company, the Olson Sign Company, and he was actually indicating that the signs are 9 square feet, 26 inches high and 50 inches wide. Like, do you defer to him, or do you defer to the measurements that were submitted to the planning board?
I think he's given the overall space that's allowed. If you look at the trim of the facade right there, that's the overall space that I don't know what his drawing
I
looked
don't
like to
think
you.
so, because I emailed him and told him to send me the exact square footages of the signs.
Mhm.
So he says he's coming up with 9 square feet, and
4 square feet,
5 square feet for the logo.
which would put us at 26. So therefore, if we don't do the logo, we'd be down to 21.
23. It's less than you submitted, is my question. Your sign company says that they're 9 square foot signs and they're both the same size.
Okay.
But what you submitted to us.
Oh, I
showed-
think when I came into the office the other day and you'd asked me that question, I just kind of roughballed what it would be, because what each space allows, basing it off that. So I may have ran a little high on it,
Okay, because he's saying that they're the exact same sign.
which makes sense.
Yeah. Which is 9 square feet.
So if I only do those 2, then I'm compliant without any
Well,
kind
you're
of
still only allowed 1 facade sign, but yes, you wouldn't need any additional square footage.
So Laura, we don't have those details in our packet?
Of what the sign company
Right,
sent
that's all
me?
we got is this.
He just sent this to me today because I was double checking with him.
All right, then what we've got is,
All
somebody-
he has is the measurements on there.
somebody calculate the 12, 10, and 4 square feet for a total of 26 square feet. That's all we have.
And that's what I wrote on there, just basing off each space, the size that it could allow to be a sign
Okay.
within that trim, but he's saying the two signs obviously makes more sense for them to be the same size, each being the 9 square feet.
Yeah,
You're under
Yeah.
23 square feet.
yeah. 'Cause
So we're looking at a
Based on these
3-foot
measurements,
waiver.
you're-
Is a 3 square foot.
3 square foot
Yep.
waiver. If you wanted to go with the logo, I mean,
If we took the logo out, it would be
You
at 18.
then you only need one additional facade.
Right.
Well, based on discussion, that where the logo is located would leave sort of a glaring,
That's
empty facade. So
That's true.
unless we're talking about relocating one of the Your CBD store signs, I think I'd be in favor of a small waiver so that we've got
Yeah.
that
mean, it
front
sound-
facing
So
facade.
it sounds like we're at 22 square feet of signage and 3 locations.
23. Because he thinks, I think because he just did 26. He did 26 as the height of everything, so that they're all uniform.
Okay. Okay, so you got to calculate this.
So wait, sorry, like, I was doing the first one, let me do the second one.
It sounds like we need another pass at this.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate to be.
Yeah,
I hate to
it's
be-
5.
I agree,
So it's 9,
Mr.
9,
Khan.
and
Working
5.
through all these details at the meeting is a bit cumbersome to say the least, you know? So what do we got?
It's definitely 9, 9, and 5,
9, 9, and 5. Okay.
because they're all 26 inches high.
We'll just reflect that in the meeting minutes.
Well, I think,
Well, if we're going to modify the resolution, we might as well do it right.
So I'll make a motion that we modify the fifth whereas in the resolution that states that a waiver for 6 square feet be modified to say a waiver for 3 square feet of total signage.
that's where it is.
Yeah.
No, 3.
3. Based on the package that the sign company provided. And then we'll stick with the 3 facade signs because Mr. McPartland's comment, I agree, the empty space there, it's okay to, if you want to put that medallion up there. If you don't put it up there, you have approval. If you want to put it inside the store, we'll leave that up to you, is where we're headed. So Mr. McPartland made a motion to modify to the whereas to from 6 square feet to 3 square feet. I'll second that motion, and we'll do, again, a vote on that. All those in favor of modifying the square footage of the sign signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none opposed, okay, that's passed. So we have a modified second amended resolution for the square footage on the sign. Any other?
So can we get more precise on what we're doing actually with the logo?
Well, what we're voting on is he can put the logo up if he so chooses, is where we ended up. He talked about not putting it up. He may put it in the store in the window, but Mr. McPartland's comment is it looks kind of blank there. So we're going to leave it in case he decides to put it up. It's kind of what we just said.
So we don't want to be more precise, because I think it actually should be up if it's going to be there, because it will not look good blank.
Well, you said you would put it up if you can, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he was just, because when he came to the planning board, and I say this to anybody who's asking for a waiver to the zoning board or the planning board, is what can you do to reduce the waiver that you're asking for? So we talked about 2 facade signs instead of 3 facade signs would be a way of reducing the need for the waiver. But, and I agree with you guys, sometimes reducing the need for a waiver creates an undesirable product. So we sort of have 2 directives. One of them is reduce your need for a waiver, but the other one is protect the character of the community, make things look like they're in harmony. So, that's really what you guys balance. But I always have that question with applicants before they come, like.
Yeah, this is a unique situational location here too, so. Okay, any other discussion? All right, we have a resolution that's, let's see, well,
Do you guys want to decide if you want to vote on it tonight or you want to table it?
well, that
Do
would
you
be,
wanna
somebody
take
would
the
have to make a
temperature?
motion to table it. We haven't had a motion to table a resolution.
I move that we table it.
Okay, we have a motion to table a resolution tonight. Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a second. All those in favor of tabling the resolution tonight signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, how many ayes we have?
Three.
Yeah, let's do a show of hands. 2. All those against tabling it?
Those three.
It was me. I was saying I would.
Yeah, your vote to table, right?
Correct.
So we got 3 votes to table, and the rest of us are saying go forward. So that's 4 votes to go forward, so we will go forward with the resolution tonight. We will not table. Okay? Any other discussion on the resolution? I know this is kind of tedious trying to work through these details, but I also think that, we're not the regulators here. Maybe there could be a better location, but this is, the applicant also has rights, and I'd like to also support the business, and I think we can get through this tonight in a fair manner. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm going to vote.
My concern is just the fact that we've had some open questions tonight.
Yeah,
And I think
and I
we're just trying,
understand
and I agree about, and I don't object ultimately to mostly, I think based upon what we see, that this being in this location, I do think some questions have been raised about what we can do and whether additional conditions could be put
Right.
forth.
Yeah.
I don't want to stand away if we're going to go forward with it, but I do think there's some questions about it that I think that we're going to start to see with other businesses as well too.
And I fully agree with that. And I think, the comment regarding looking at the code and making a recommendation to town board to modify the code, trying to look ahead is what we need to do. And that's what we really need to do. But we're not going to be able to do that, obviously, in time with this application in front of us. In fact, it's quite a bit of work. It takes time to get through all that.
I think, would we have the expertise to, unless we had some empirical evidence that said that we could tie reducing signage that would attract minors. I just don't know what the ambiguity as to your powers with relation to conditions you can impose as a planning board on something that's a legal use. I think that gray area proves that you don't have that authority.
I know, but we don't even know what the legal age is here for what people, if there's any legal age here at all in New York. I think we know what it is, but I'm not sure we know for sure what it is.
But he can't operate in a legal business, and
I know, I'm just saying, these are just some
Yeah.
questions that we should know that we don't know.
yes. And the chief of police or the fire chief at anything.
We referred it to the way that we refer tenant changes. We haven't heard back from them.
Okay. All right. Okay, we have a resolution that's been amended twice, right? 2 new conditions and the clarification on the square footage of the signage. So I think we're all set and we can vote on the amended resolution.
Ms. Gold,
In favor of the resolution, yes, aye.
Mr. Laflamme,
Nay.
Mr. Khan,
Nay.
Mr. McPartlin,
Aye.
Mr. Darpino,
Aye.
Mr. Oster,
Nay.
Chairman Wall.
Aye. So let's see, we got 4 ayes, right? The resolution passes. All right, so you can go forward with the conditions. You can come on in, see, we got to get a building permit, right?
Building permit.
You can pick up a copy of the resolution, and we'll follow, obviously you'll follow the law, and hopefully everything works out okay at the business.
All right, appreciate your time.
All right,
Good
thank
luck.
you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience with us, and thank you to the board to work through this tonight, I know. Thank you. All right. We'll continue on with signage. Next up, we have a recommendation to the ZBA for Mathnasium Learning Center sign variance for 2321 Knott Street. And I see I can handle that, all right? Let's see.
So this is just a recommendation to the ZBA. We looked at Mathnasium and they didn't have their sign package ready to go.
Yep.
And they're allowed to take their sign package to the planning board or the zoning board, and they selected the zoning board. But I didn't want to bring it to the zoning board without at least showing it to you guys, because my thought is, if you think it looks fine, great, we'll just do a normal recommendation. But if you want to ask the zoning board to reduce the numbers at all, like now would be the time, because we will,
Yep, so-
because they appealed to the zoning board. So I guess I just wanted you guys to double check and see if you felt like that looked fine, it would be in harmony with the rest of the thing, and we could just do a normal referral.
Yep,
or if
we'll
you
take care
wanted-
of it. We got it. So section 220-13, Schedule I-D allows for facade signs. 1 square foot of sign area shall be permitted for each linear foot of building frontage. Okay, Mathnasium has 19 linear feet of building frontage, therefore 19 square feet is allowed, and its proposed is 29. Therefore, a 10-foot area variance is required from this section. So that's our recommendation. All right, so the first question we need to ask, as always, and I think we're doing better with this one, is effect on comprehensive plan. And I guess I'll make a recommendation that there is no effect on the comprehensive plan. Basically, this is an area variance, and there's other signs that throughout the complex there that have had, just like we just had one, we just granted variance on. So I'm saying that there is no effect on the comprehensive plan. All those that agree there's no effect on comprehensive plan, just please raise your hand. And that's unanimous, no effect on the comprehensive plan. As far as suitability for use, I guess I'll continue on if you don't mind. My personal feeling is it's suitable for the areas proposed. A couple points that I want to make. Again, I went over there and took a look today. The one thing is that they're staying within the defined area. If you take a look at what they're trying to do there. And they also did remove the box sign as part of their corporate logo. If you look in the packet on page, that's just, I guess it'd be the second from last page. No, that's not it. That's the sign as proposed. But if you look, there was like a little box on the bottom that said something about.
The Math Learning Center.
Yeah, Math Learning Center. They removed that to try to do best effort to minimize it. So, I thought that was a worthy. Also, if you kind of look at the numbers, I know that we draw a box around the biggest thing, which if you look at the second from last picture, the A plus is a little bit larger. If you were to, if you play around with the numbers, it really, and I know that's not the way we do it. It's usually just a box. It's really only because of the A plus number that really puts them over on the square footage.
Yep.
So for those reasons, I thought it would be suitable. It doesn't extend up into the parapet. It's within the defined area. So for those reasons, I say it's suitable. All those that say it's suitable, please show of hands. Any comments on that? Suitable?
Yeah, I just hate the sign
Yeah.
because I love the English language and it sort of corrupts it.
Okay. And the following.
It's like blaze. It's like, fired with like the apostrophe D. It's not a
Actually, I
real
think
word.
it's actually
Yeah.
pretty
I do too. It's also like a play on math versus
Yeah.
English.
you know.
Yeah,
All right.
They have, like- because it's.
And the final question, unless you have a comment on that suitability?
No. We can go to the final question. Now ask my question.
Okay, and the final question is recommendation to the zoning board of appeals. I recommend that the zoning board of appeals grant the area variance for the sign. All those that agree, show of hands, and that's also unanimous. So Laura, you got enough information
I
for
just wanted to
suitable?
make sure you guys had a look at it.
No, we appreciate that.
But so generally speaking, we're fine with it. Then it'll be up to them to decide what.
Yep.
they want to do.
Whether or
And I
not.
just wanted to verify that the points Mr. Walsh made get captured.
Yes,
On the
yeah, I wrote down some of them, but he did it so fast. I'm definitely.
Yeah.
I got them.
Yeah, I got
I got them. I can get together. with
Our
it.
expectations that, you'll capture those.
Too fast.
That was
I
fast.
gotta slow down. All right, I'm sorry. Okay, that's it for new business. All right, and we do have one discussion item on the agenda. That's Village Meadows site plan review. Laura and the planning department put out a statement about what's going on there about the removal of the road.
Yeah.
Sounds like if you read the email train that's in there, they thought they may have contacted somebody in engineering and said it was okay, but the bottom line is they made a change to their site plan, which could impact safety to the residents there, and plus, ingress and egress. So that's why this discussion item is on here. One thing, Laura, I know you might want to speak to this, but I did get down there today and took a ride around, and it seemed to be reasonable as long as the fire department and police department is good with it. It does actually minimize impervious surface and increase the green space of the property. And there is two other entrances that are very close by already. One thing I did notice is that the sign, there's a Village Meadows or whatever is still there. So it seems like something needs to happen. We need to have them, are they relocating
The monument sign, right? Yeah, we
Are they
talked
getting
about
rid of
that.
the sign? Something needs to happen there because it could be misleading until that something happens. What else do you have to add, Laura, on that?
Just that the fire department was initially very concerned because they have to have an approved route to the farthest building. If you look, the farthest building on the site plan is kind of the most western building. And it's like at the bottom of the page. So they were concerned about this building here because when you remove that entrance, but there's private fire hydrants within the property that do serve that. And I asked the fire chief if that was okay, because they don't show up on his maps because they're private. And generally speaking, he said that was fine as long as they maintain the fire hydrants, according to code, which they're required by code to maintain. But my one thing that I would probably put is, that the planning board would memorialize that either with like a condition that they regularly submit or, fire hydrant maintenance to us, or that they enter in a fire hydrant maintenance agreement with us because it's so important to that last building. That last building did essentially lose a public fire hydrant by the removal of the entrance. And so now it's only served by private. I don't know. That's the one thing that we've just been working on internally. It's unusual.
So Laura, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why wasn't our first response to this for them to just undo what they did and go back to what the site plan was voted on?
Before they come here?
Not before they come here, when they did what they did without permission.
I mean,
Why is the answer to them undo it and get it back to what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, they can do that. I mean, generally, yeah. I mean, but generally speaking, and this happens on the zoning board as well, like someone puts up a shed and then we find it, and we don't require them to take the shed down until they've had the right to go before a board and ask for relief. So typically, like, we cite them and then they have a certain number of days to either apply for a building permit or apply for site plan approval, which, I mean, these guys were given.
But this is still classified as new construction, right?
It's classified as a modification to a site plan. Yeah. But if you guys said no, they would have to.
The
put
original
back-
site plan they're still constructing on the site, right?
Nope, it's been built it's totally done.
It's done.
It's been done since like 2005, maybe?
No, the road changes were just recently.
Oh, yeah, the road changes,
Yeah,
I
the
think
road
were done.
change- Yeah, this-
Yeah,
okay,
like maybe.
Sorry, I thought I.
Yeah, the road changes were
Yeah, the
recently
road-
done. They did like a rough cap and.
Right.
They didn't
Right,
do a
yes.
final, but
And how did they think they even had permission to do that? Did they have a
They
letter or?
submitted a building permit for drainage, like they were changing some of the catch basins. And like, if you saw in the email chain, they thought that, well, at least some of them thought that that included removal of the driveway. But we reviewed that building permit and it was very clearly just a drainage permit. So we thought maybe they weren't moving forward with their abandonment of their entrance or anything. Cause they had reached out and said, we're thinking about abandoning the entrance. And we said, okay, yeah. I mean, you have to come to the planning board, you have to check with the fire department, you have to do all these things before you do that. They came and got a building permit for drainage, but thought that somehow that it included the whole road. I mean, I don't know, good faith or not good faith. Like, I actually had to send him the permit to show him that it wasn't in the building permit. I mean, it may have been a miscommunication inside of their organization, or it may have been on purpose. I can't pass judgment, but typically, even though we could require them to put it back, we usually do offer them that they can take out the building permit or go to the zoning board or go to the planning board before they are required to spend the money to put it back. But it shouldn't weigh in your decision that they've done it already. It's essentially meaningless to you because it's not the zoning board where you're weighing financial hardship or anything. Like, you're just looking at the site plan. And if you really don't think that that should be something that would be approved under site plan, then they do have to put it back.
right, so this is discussion item, obviously, everybody take a ride down there and see how you feel from a,
No, but are we gonna have a meeting with them and we're gonna see what the new?
Yeah, I mean, I had thought that they were coming tonight.
This?
They're not here, obviously.
So they were supposed to be here today?
Yeah, they are. They were supposed to come.
I mean, the planning office does have the authority to say do it without even coming to the planning board, right? I mean, to say,
Yeah,
put it back to the way the approved site plan was.
you could. Yeah, I mean, you could.
Your office could do
But
that.
but I can't preclude them from coming to the planning board and then asking for it. And so, like, I mean, it's just, I would say it's just,
they filed an
nobody
app-
likes it when people move forward, against the code, but like, to have them put it back, then come to the planning board to ask to have it removed, and then get approval to have it removed, and then go back and remove it. It just seems like a waste of resources. I feel like the way that we conduct business is you're at least allowed to ask.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is the entrance that lines up with the city road. There's a barrier. The
There.
planning board member who was project lead on that really tried very hard to get the city to let the connection be made.
Okay,
This was the compromise, but in an emergency, the vehicles could get through, and now, at least in winter, they're not going to be able
Yeah.
to. There's really a safety concern. I think they should be told to put it back.
so
And I
the,
will not move from that position.
which is totally fine. I just think that the way we would say that is to say no to their site plan application, and then they've exhausted all their options. And then they put it back.
Yeah, I mean, and look, my only concern with this is, one aspect of it is the procedural one, but that's a secondary part. The part is there is that it is a safety item that's at stake. And I understand the chief, fire chief. Look, we all want to make it work. We've done that tons of times here. But trying to make it work on a safety item is just a little
It's
bit
after
of
the
a,
fact, yeah.
just a little bit of a concern to me, that's all.
We have mutual aid agreement with the city. That removal does not help mutual aid calls.
The fire chief, did he walk the property or go over or look at the map? Do we know? Laura?
He was generally speaking okay with it once he saw the second map that had the internal fire hydrants, with the understanding that the private fire hydrants are properly maintained.
All right, so that was something else we need to talk about. Properly maintained, to what standard, and are they maintaining, and is there certification? Again, that's why this is a discussion item, there's no resolution tonight. So those are the kinds of things that and I know we talked, Laura and I talked.
Yeah, it's difficult.
We need to get that, and whether they want to enter an agreement with the town to do the maintenance on the fire hydrants, so we're sure it's done, or however that works out. That's the kind of things we need to capture. That's why this is just, for discussion tonight. So what I would suggest is, take a ride down there, take a look to see if, if it's site circulation is depleted to a point where, any of us board members have a safety concern. My first look at it just today, right around it, didn't seem to be, a big deal, but I had in back of my mind that the fire chief already had given me some input to it, So let's take a look at it and see what we think. And we're going to need to, for the applicant to get
Yeah.
some more
We're
information.
expecting something from the renters also?
From the what?
Yes,
From the
yeah.
condominium membership?
Oh, that was the minutes that I attached.
Yeah, it was in the
Yeah.
minutes. It was the vote. Yep.
Yeah.
The attendant and the vote
Yeah.
supporting the changes from the association are included in the packet. Yep.
Because we wanted to make sure that there was proper representation of
Yeah, majority.
essentially like the people who live in that building
Yep.
that are losing the entrance.
Yeah.
I guess to some extent, some of it is inside, it's inside the
Basically
condo
the minutes,
association,
yeah.
but I feel like we just need to.
Do they understand that there's a safety issue now because of that?
Well, the fire department.
The people who live in the one
Yeah.
building, I mean, we deal with the condominium association. It's not like we knock on doors and
Yeah.
essentially we have to they represent a certain number, a certain quorum. May not be that everybody agrees with it, although according to their minutes, it was unanimous, but I don't know how regularly everybody attends condominium meetings. But at some point, you just have to go with the representation and the documentation that they're representing the majority of the stakeholders.
It's.
There was one spot, I think they said.
in just
But if
reading
there's an
through-
issue, yeah, I mean, that's
I mean, in
why
just
they have
reading
to
through
come to the
this, I
planning
don't
board.
see them, somebody help me out, because I didn't find it in the beginning that, do they even consider safety in their minutes?
Not in their minutes, it's not called out.
No, they're told they could save money this way.
And they had said that they were thinking maybe in the future they would do some kind of like a ground mounted solar array.
All right.
Yeah,
Yes, the minutes clearly don't reference safety, right?
nope. And I mean,
So the question is there a safety problem, as Ms. Gold has stated, that has developed as a result of removing the rope? And I think, we need something in writing from, usually we do get a memo or something, right, from the fire chief?
yeah, he might actually have put it in an email, which I
Yeah, and then we'll
think I do.
all go down there and take a look and walk it and see what we think also. I
Yeah,
do know there's two entrances already on Hillcrest, and they're all very close to each other, including the third that they
Mhm.
removed out. They were bang, bang, bang right in a row. So my first look personally was that, geez, it didn't seem like it was a big, deal, as long as you can get to the, and I didn't have that frame of mind when I drove by, but I'll take another look at the third building.
yeah, so it's actually the access from the city of Schenectady side that you guys are concerned with.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's the other thing too, right? It's an accessible point for non-Niskuna emergency.
yeah, and I mean, I don't know, I'm just throwing something out here, but maybe a compromise is if we don't need another entrance on Hillside, but we need it to be paved and restored to the city of Schenectady cul-de-sac. at least to the bend. I mean, as a
Well,
something, and then they can still have additional green
Yeah,
space.
this-
I don't know.
I mean, it came out on Hillside. You're saying that that portion of Hillside's the city of Schenectady, but it came
No,
out-
actually, you can't see it. Is it in the map? Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah.
It's no, you can't. There's a road right here where it says remove third entrance. Do you see how Golf Ave comes up here? There's a road from the city of Schenectady that comes up in cul-de-sacs right here.
Okay, so I didn't see, when I looked at this when I went
Yeah.
down there today, so. I only looked at this,
Like if you're looking at where they
hydrant
take
marker
this,
where it shows the
yeah, like
road
where,
curve.
like there's actually a cul-de-sac for the
I got
city of
part of the
Schenectady
story.
right
Yeah.
here.
you know,
Yeah.
that's what I
That's
looked
right.
at.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
So let me take another, I'll have to take another
Yeah,
look.
let's take, I mean, so this is discussion. The applicant
Yeah, so
has this,
we'll-
get our,
Reiterate that they need to be here at the next meeting, and then you guys can go and check stuff out.
So that's a good comment, Leslie, because they could restore just the, that one little stub that goes out to that road if they want to eliminate to, you know, all that square footage that goes out to Hillside for the third. That's a whole different situation. I didn't look at that. So.
Yeah.
And I think the chief needs to understand that too. I don't know if he got that from, if he was just looking at fire hydrants.
He's
wanna-
just looking at fire.
Yeah, we want to make sure he looks at site circulation.
yeah, but that's the thing, right? He's probably thinking we could just properly maintain, we'll just drive the trucks
Yeah.
over snow and we'll do it. What we gotta do is,
Yeah.
but
I mean, they always will.
every
Yeah.
couple of
Yep.
minutes matters, right?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Those are all good
Look,
comments.
For me, the only issue is that it's a safety thing that's at risk here,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think I was around when this happened, but the thing is, you guys did that for a
Shortly
reason,
after, I
right?
believe. Well, not shortly, a few years later.
Yeah, so
You remember?
Yeah,
if it was trees and bushes, it'd have been something else, but
So Laura, I guess, I don't know if there's any other comments. I think we just take that back to the applicant.
Oh, no, that was before my time.
Right.
2001.
So that's where we stand, just
Yeah,
basically take
yep.
that
So
back
we'll
to the
bring
applicant.
them, make sure that they're, reiterate that they need to come to the next meeting and have people do a site visit.
Yeah, and you can, fire chief, and express our concerns. And the other thing we probably should do is, if it looks like it's going to move forward, we probably should have a project lead also. Somebody would be willing to do that. No need to tell me now, but you can always email Laura.
She can't be.
But
The alternates aren't allowed to be
oh,
project
we
lead
can't.
because they won't
yeah,
necessarily
you don't know
vote.
whether or not they'll be sitting, so. All right, and then we'll have somebody on.
That was a good eyeball try. Saw that.
Anything else on that?
I forgot we had cameras. captured.
All right, how about reports, Laura? Do you have anything tonight for reports?
I do not. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I do have the proposed dates for 2020. I think we had to do a little bit of voiding of the Jewish holidays,
You've already
but
checked that?
yeah, we did
Okay.
check, and
Alright.
I think that it's pretty good.
Okay,
Clark
So-
did it for me.
so we can take that, everybody take that home, did take a look at it, and we have a resolution, is that how
No,
we
we
do that?
normally just, everybody said, vote on it. We can
Okay.
vote on it in December.
We'll do that in December, then take a look at it.
Take a look at it.
All right. Before I go to commission business, I guess, under reports, I guess I'll ask, is there any questions for Laura or Ms. Kim on anything specific that we could cover under reports?
No, I feel like you guys are doing pretty good on your training, but I need to double check everyone
I've
and then
gotta do some-
send the,
yeah.
the last reminder email out for December ends up being webinars.
I think I've got more credits than I need, but I'd like confirmation.
Yeah, I think you do too.
The Department of State always has good programs.
Yeah, they do.
And I often find
Mo
myself in
does
the,
that.
yeah,
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll move on to commission business. Mr. Oster, do you have anything for
I
us?
do not.
Mr. Giordano?
No.
Mr. McFarland?
No.
Mr. Khan?
No, I just want to make sure our request to the town board, Laura, that we need to look at that.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
code.
We Need
Yeah,
to catch up with the facts and get it straight.
yeah.
I agree.
This,
And even like forecasting, like maybe we
Mhm.
never do get legalized marijuana, but let's put in our code now.
And it's just the issue with the schools,
Yeah,
right? It's just the
yeah.
issue with
And
schools.
daycares. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
the
that
distance,
section-
the code.
Yeah,
the code we have-
marijuana, vaping products, you
Yeah,
know,
should the,
head shops.
there we go. What more has evolved that should be included?
Marijuana.
Well, interesting it
Marijuana.
is because because I think, isn't Half Moon having that issue right now? About
Dispensary.
one of the dispensaries, one of the dispensaries that have been approved by the state, one I think locate in Half Moon. And I thought there was an issue about whether they could go there or not. But I'm only getting vague. I know there was some issue.
I mean,
I haven't seen that.
And it's a question for the prior Niskuna too.
Laura, would we make that recommendation, how would we make that recommendation to the town board? Is it going to go through
Yeah, how do we
committee,
go
public
for that?
safety committee?
No, it's actually a zoning code amendment, and so it requires the full gamut of zoning code amendments, which is, it goes to the CAC for a seeker recommendation. We do a public hearing and a recommendation to the town board. The town board does a public hearing, a seeker determination, and adoption.
But but that's when we actually know what we want to recommend. I'm not sure we necessarily even know what we want to recommend at this point.
Right, we would do drafts and then come up with a recommendation.
Yeah.
We would do drafts, then be comfortable, hopefully comfortable with our draft, call a public hearing, listen to the public, then amend our draft as necessary, and then forward it on to the town board for their own public hearing.
Yeah, but at least give them the heads up that it's coming, right? And I think we should do that as soon
Yeah, I
as
mean,
later.
Yeah, we talked about, we have talked about it a little bit over the phone. It's definitely, I think,
You know,
very.
when you write out the memo, make sure you spell out what CBD stands for.
Yep.
And tell them
Yeah.
we have one within 1,000 foot of the high school.
Well, listen, there's literally, I said before, there's literally a person who drives into Niskun High School every day with a big CBD sign on her car. You know, it's here. I mean, it's everywhere. So, I mean, again, I did not object to it going it, but what I wanted was just, you know, a little bit more time just to make sure we've got all our I's dotted and our T's crossed.
So yeah, we were.
Yeah.
I think we were fair.
Yeah.
I think we're fair.
They did receive a positive resolution, but at the end of the day, we've got a store with the name cannabis in it within 1,000 feet of our high school.
Yeah,
And, you know, we've got 0 drug problems in our high school.
yeah, I mean, like, I understand what Alexis is saying about not interpreting the town boards, but I think that was the intent of the town board, was to not have stuff like that go near there.
Right, so we have to, it's up to us to interpret it, but we need to reinforce or revisit whether that should be written.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was very defined.
But cigarettes.
For cigarettes,
For
it was very
cigarettes.
tobacco related. Yeah, it was.
Well, and I can't, but it covers e-cigarettes too, right? Which by
It just barely covers, it does actually cover e-cigarettes because they're defined as a tobacco product. But
Right.
that's a strange way to connect the e-cigarettes.
That's right.
So I think it would be much better to revisit, make e-cigarettes stronger, put cannabis in there, put marijuana in there, just put everything in there.
That's right. Or whatever we.
Yeah, which knowing that we don't have crystal balls, but sorry, guys. Yes.
Thank you.
I agree.
And I know some people were uncomfortable with moving forward, but I think, you know, when you look at the main role of the planning board,
Oh, yeah.
versus I think it could be ancillary would be having to feel as if you need to do amendments to ensure the public safety. Like, obviously that's a paramount concern, but I think it's a shared responsibility. And I thought it was ironic that's been a vacant area for quite a while, and had there still been a tanning salon, that would not have been illegal. I guess lay down tan beds are illegal now. Not only first it was a 21 and it's 18, and now they're just prohibited. So
Yeah.
trying to plan and predict illegality, I think that's just left to either legislators or to legislators.
Okay.
And
Under-
frankly, I was not happy to see the application, but I think we could spend 3 weeks researching it and find we have no more authority than we
That was good.
apparently have, which is very little.
So we're still under commission business. Mr.
Yes,
Laflamme, did you have anything? No. Leslie? No? Okay, I have nothing further. Okay, at this time, I'd like make a motion that the planning board enter an executive session pursuant to section 105(1)D of the Public Officers Law to discuss proposed pending or current litigation against the planning board. At the conclusion of the executive session, we'll make a motion to adjourn, so we will not be coming back out, conduct any further business after the executive session. So I'd like to move that we move into executive session. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. DiArpino. All those in favor of moving the executive session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none opposed, we'll move into executive session. Good night, everyone. We will not be re-adjourning the public portion of the meeting tonight. Thank you.
So uninformed
Recording
there,
gonna stop?
the people who are.
We're probably gonna relocate.
Okay. we're-
If you guys don't